So good morning to one and all. So today our topic is lubrication and cooling system in the engine components. So let us move into our topic. So lubrication is an art of admitting the lubricant between two surfaces that are in contact and in a relative motion. So the purpose, what is the main purpose and what are the objectives and how many types of lubricating oils and how many types of lubricating systems, all these things we have to discuss right now, and what are the oil lubrication engines and what are the cooling systems. So all these things we have to discuss right now. So the purpose of lubrication is to reduce the friction and wear between the moving parts and thereby energy loss, and to increase the life of the engine. And the second thing is to provide selling action. Example, like lubrication oil helps the piston rings to maintain an effective seal against the high pressure gases in the cylinder from leaking out into the crankcase. And the third point, this is the main function, to cool the surface by carrying away the heat generated in engine components. And the last thing is to clean the surface by washing away carbon and the metal particles caused by the wear. So what is the main component? First of all, we have to know about the function, purpose, after that the component. So the first function is to be most important one. So internal combustion engines, the problem of lubrication becomes more difficult because of high temperature experienced during the combustion process and by wide range of temperature encountered throughout the cycle. So the energy loses from the friction between different components of the engine and can be minimized by providing proper lubrication. So here, this is the engine components. Engine components, first thing is piston and the cylinder. Piston and the cylinder. And the second one is crankshaft bearings. So crankshaft and their bearings. So the third one is connecting rod. Okay, crank pin and their bearing. And the fourth one is wrist pin and their bearing. And fifth one is valve gear, or we will call it as also timing gear. Timing gear. So crank pin bearing means here we will call it as in our regular wording cam and camshaft and its bearing. Whereas wrist pin and their bearing, we will call it as in our regular language valve and valve operating mechanism. So these are the main important lubrication components. So coming to the lubrication of engine components, the method of reducing the friction by introducing the substance called lubricant. So this is the definition. All of you hear clearly. So types of lubrication, this is the thing after that. So first of all, we have to know about the definition of the lubrication. So the method of reducing the friction by introducing the substance called lubricant between the mating parts is called lubrication. So right, and coming to the objectives. So these are the objectives, main objectives. And one more time, I will repeat it. So what is going on here? It will reduce the friction, thus increase efficiency, and it will reduce wear and tear of the moving parts. So this is the main one. That's why we are using different types of coolant, and it will carry away the heat which will generate whenever it generates the heat, it will carry away the heat. And next thing is it provides a sealing action between cylinder and piston rings. Thereby it reduces blow. Therefore, it will provide the protection against the corrosion also. So this is one of the major things we will observe here. And next one is lubrication film acts as a cushion, and it reduce the vibration also. That means it will reduce the noise pollution also. And next one is carrying away the grit and other deposits and provide cleaning. So therefore, we will reduce the noise also. Coming to the, so that is the main objective. So this is the types of lubrication system: mist lubrication, wet sump lubrication, and a dry sump lubrication. So before knowing this, we have to know. So these are all the, so as you can observe here, so this is the lubrication system. So this is the splash lubrication system. Before knowing this, what are the types of lubricants we are using? Solid, semi-solid, liquid. So solid means graphite. Solid means those are on the examples: graphite, molybdenum, or mica. So these are all the solid lubricants. Whereas semi-solid lubricants, heavy grease. We will observe at our two-wheelers. So that is the semi-solid. Next, liquid, mineral oils, vegetable oils, animal oils. So these are all the different types of lubricants we are using, right? So coming to the properties. So what are the different properties of the lubricant? So properties, we are having so many properties. So here you can observe. Properties, we have to maintain the following things. So the duties, the property, first of all, what is the duty of the lubricant? We have to know it. After that, we have to know the properties of that lubricant. Therefore, to accomplish the functions, what is the requirement? First of all, everybody know about that one. First of all, you must know that what is the requirement. After that, according to that requirement, we will move for that particular lubricant. So right. So the requirement is friction between the components and the metal to metal contact. So that is to reduce. All these have to reduce or limit, to control the limit. So right. Next, the second one is overheating of the component, and the third one is wear of the component, and the fourth one is corrosion, and the fifth one is deposit. So these are the different types of functions we require. So coming to this, it must have the following properties, whichever we use the solid, semi-solid, or liquid lubricants, we require the following properties. So first one is viscosity. We must know the viscosity and viscosity index and cloud point, pour point. So you must know the cloud point, pour point, flash points, all these things. We have been done some experiments in our second year PLS lab. So that is fire point, oiliness, carbon residue, detergency, foaming test. So these are all the things we already done in our lab, in our second year labs, I think. So one more time I will repeat it. Viscosity, it has been calculated. Viscosity index is also has been calculated. Cloud point, pour point, flash point. These three things also has been calculated in our PLS lab. And next one is fire point, oiliness, carbon residue, detergency, and foaming. So these techniques we are not using right now. So carbon residue testing also has been done in our lab. So these are the different tests for the lubricant. So here, additives. What are the additives? Why we are adding these additives to the lubricant? So that means simple single line word I want to say this for this additives. These are the compounds. These are, we are calling these additives as the compounds added to the lubricant oils to promote and improve their desired properties. To promote and improve their desired properties. So that is the main thing we are using these or soluble organic compound to the lubricant to get all these characteristics. What are the characteristics? On screen we have been shared totally 7 types. So I want to say this is detergent disperant. So detergent dispersant means metallic salts, organic acids. So that is one of the things. And anti-wear. ఎందుకు ఇవన్నీ యాడ్ చేస్తున్నాం అంటే anti-wear, and next thing is anti-rust. So anti-rust, and next viscosity index improver. Viscosity index improver, 4-point depressant, anti-foam, and antioxidant. So these are all the requirements. So antioxidant, anti-corrosive agent, detergent dispersant, extreme pressure additives, 4-point depressor, viscosity index improver, and anti-foam agent, oiliness, and film strength agent. So these are the additives, these are the characteristics we have to improve the lubricant for the present day. So we are calling it as compounds, so or soluble organic compounds. All right. So coming to the lubrication oil, but before knowing the classification based on rating, so we have to know the types of lubrication system. So this is the types of lubrication system. How many types we are having? We are having 3 types: mist lubrication, wet sump lubrication system, dry sump lubrication system. So mist lubrication. So simple language, I want to say this is, so on screen we have been shared a number of points. So this is the system used where crankcase lubrication is not suitable. So simple ga cheppali ante it is employed in two-stroke petrol engine. Employed in two-stroke petrol engine. So in the system, the petrol and lubricating oil are previously mixed in fuel take from where it is supplied to the carburetor. One more time I will repeat it. The petrol and the lubricating oil are previously mixed in the fuel where it is supplied to the carburetor. So the proportion must be 2 to 3%, or on screen we have been shared the usual ratio is 3 to 6%. So 6% is the maximum value. So 3 is the minimum value, right? So it provides the lubrication to the cylinder, piston rings, and connecting rod, bearings, whereas the crankcase also, right? So also the separate lubrication is provided to those parts of the engine where the mixture of oil and the petrol cannot reach, in case it gives unsatisfactory lubrication. So that is the thing happening in our mist lubrication system. So we will call it as mist lubrication means nothing but petrol, right? So advantages in this mist lubrication system, we are having certain advantages also. So what are the advantages? Economical, and it's very cheap. Not at all very cheap. So as compared to other oils, it is cheap. So no oil pump is required, and no filter, and oil carrying pipe needed. No requirements, right? So quantity of oil is automatically regulated with load and speed, and it may be lubrication failure are the least. So that's why we are using the mist lubrication system, even though everything must have some advantages and some disadvantages. So what are the disadvantages? Here we are having certain disadvantages. One is carbon deposit and burning of oil film, and falling of fouling of spark plug increases maintenance cost. Oil consumption is high, and the engine is usually over oiled, and long duration of no load due to almost closed the throttle valve. Therefore, engine mating parts may be get adequate lubricating oil. So these are the main disadvantages. So coming to the wet sump lubrication system, here this may be subclassified into the components according to the varieties or components we are using. So splash system, splash and pressure feed system, and fully pressure feed system. So totally we are having 3 types. What are the wet sump? What are the wet sump lubrication system? So here on screen we have been shared the wet sump lubrication system. So mainly it is having 2 points. It is having only 2 points. So first thing is it is located at the bottom of the crankcase, contain an oil pan. So this is the first thing. And the second one is oil pump supply the oil to engine parts. This will happening in our wet sump lubrication system. So types and requirements. So this is the splash system on screen we have been shared. So this is the splash lubrication system. So where it is suitably small capacity 4-stroke engine with moderate speed and bearing load. So here you can observe the diagram, splash lubrication system. It is only having a capacity of 4-stroke engine with moderate speed and bearing load. And next one is it is having a large eye of connecting rod and is facilitated with scoop dipping. Here you can observe the total diagram. Scoop dipping through the splash the oil, and next one is where the oil is employed to maintain the level of oils in truck. So wet sump lubrication system. So wet sump lubrication system, here you can observe this is the pressure feed pressure feed lubrication system. Right. So splash and pressure feed system. So this is the diagram on screen we have been shared. So and here you can observe, here you can observe this is a fully pressure feed. So we are having 3 types. So first one is splash system, and the second one is pressure feed lubrication system. That means it's a fully pressure feed lubrication system. So fully pressure feed system is suitable where it is used means it is suitable for heavy duty engines. It is suitable for heavy duty engines, and the oil from the sump is drawn by the pump through filter, and it is forced to the main bearing through the branches of a distributor header. And next one is drilled passages help to provide lubricating oil from the main bearing to the crank pin, and it lubricates the big end bearing. The oil from the big end bearing is supplied to small end bearing through the drilled passage in the connecting rod. And the lubrication of the cylinder valve and the rocker arm is done by the oil sprays thrown by the crankshaft and the connecting rod. So this is happening in our pressure feed system. So this is all the theory. So I have been given just the direct theory. So here you can observe pump, strainer, pressure regulator, filter, and the breather. So the process I have been explained, and the components, the basic components of the wet sump and pressure feed system, all these have been shared on your screen. So coming to the dry sump, so it doesn't have any diagram, so that's why we can't show the diagram. So the dry sump lubrication system, lubricating oil is maintained in a separate tank kept behind the radiator. So this is a dry sump. So oil is kept cool because of air blast thrown on the radiator. So due to less pressure, less temperature, the use of thinner oil which reduces the friction. So this is happening in our dry sump lubrication. So dry sump lubrication వచ్చేపాటికి మన దగ్గర diagram availability గా లేదు. So this is the editing. So this is the need of cooling system. So why this is required means before know about the oil pump. What is the oil pump? It will circulate the lubricant under pressure to various parts of the engine and driven by gear mounted on the camshaft. So this is the oil pump explanation. So the gear type pump, which consists two meshing spur gears of equal size in housing, is commonly used. Just wait a minute. Right. So need for cooling system. So before knowing that, we are discussing that oil pump. So the pressure depends on speed, and to overcome the excessive pressure, pressure release valve is provided, which bypass the oil into the pump inlet. So I will show the diagram which is available due to net problem. This is all about the, so this is of the cooling of an automobile. So you can observe the total diagram. So here, why the cooling system is required, and how much cooling it is required, and what we are observing in this cooling system. So all these things discussed at present right now. So in engine cooling, 30% of heat is carried by cooling water, and includes combustion and friction heat. And outlet temperature of the water from engine varies from 50 degrees centigrade to 80 degrees centigrade in water cooled, and therefore it must be observed that the gasoline engine requires more air than diesel engine, and turbocharged diesel engine requires less cooling than naturally aspirated diesel engine. So this is the observation. And coming to the need, what is the main requirement? So why we are using the cooling system means, so this is the theory. So during the process of converting thermal energy to the mechanical energy, high temperature are produced in the cylinder of the engine as a result of combustion process. So that is the combustion process. So why we are using this cooling system is, it will maintain the temperature of the lubricating oil and different components. How much temperature it was? Below 200 degrees. Below 200 degrees it will maintain. And the cooling system will, this is the requirement by using this engine cooling system. So it will reduce thermal stresses and cracking, and reduce abnormal combustion, and increase volumetric efficiency, and it will increase the volumetric efficiency. So these are the things we require. That's why we are using the cooling system. So the following characteristics, we are observing the characteristics of the cooling system. It should be capable of removing about 30% of heat generated. So that is the characteristics required, desired for efficient cooling system. So right, 30% of heat generated in the combustion chamber while maintaining optimum temperature of the engine under all operating conditions of engine. And the second point is it should remove heat at a faster rate when the engine is hot. However, during starting of the engine, the cooling system should be minimum so that the working parts of the engine reach their operating temperature in short time. So coming to this, these are the types of cooling system. Types of cooling system. So whatever else, it is having some disadvantages. Before knowing the types of cooling system, we must know the disadvantages also. What are the disadvantages? Engine must be efficiently hot to assure smooth combustion, and at low temperature problem is starting and low temperature corrosion. And next, at low temperature, the sulfurous and sulfuric acids resulting from combustion of fuel attack the cylinder barrel, and to avoid condensation of acids, the coolant temperature should be greater than 70 degrees centigrade. So these are all the disadvantages. So in the cooling system. So coming to this, we are having types of cooling system. One is liquid or indirect cooling. Liquid or indirect cooling. And second one is air or direct cooling. Air or direct cooling. Air cooling means where it was used small engines and low weight. That means aircraft and industrial and agricultural wherever we required. So that is the air cooling. And liquid cooling means water cooling. That means whichever it is having large engines, that is the water cooling system. And one more thing is liquid means we are using either oil cooling also. So oil cooling is mainly used in racing cars, so etc. So that is the example I can give to you. So coming to the air cooling, first of all, coming to the air cooling, sorry, first of all we know the liquid cooling system. So here what is happening in the liquid, either water or oil, whatever else, the cylinder or the cylinders are closed in a water jacket. The path, wait. So the path as well as the local velocity should be carefully planned to cool highly thermally stressed areas. And the next one is local velocities greater than 3 to 4 meters per second are used to provide a reasonable heat transfer. The cast surfaces are usually machined to improve heat transfer coefficient. Sometimes drilled coolant passages are provided to cool highly stressed parts, and antifreeze materials like kerosene, glycerin, ethylene glycol, and propylene. So these are all the different examples we can give it for you for water liquid cooling. So anyway, some antifreeze solution from sticky deposits on the cylinder, and it will reduce the heat transfer coefficient. And various methods. In this also we are having so many methods. So here you can observe totally 5 types of methods in our liquid cooling. So first thing is direct or non-return valve system, non-return system. Second one is thermosiphon cooling and forced circulation, forced or pump cooling. That means forced circulation cooling system simply, right? Next thing is a evaporative cooling system and pressure cooling system, right? So these are the different methods we are using in our liquid cooling. So this is the thermosiphon cooling system. So in this thermosiphon cooling system, you can observe the total parts: upper hose connection, upper tank, radiator core, lower tank, and cylinder water jacket, lower hose connection. So whatever else we are having directly, the heat where the lubricant is going to this one, therefore going to the water jacket, therefore it will cool down the total uh, combustion, therefore it will come back to the same point. So this is the principle of the thermosiphon system. So the hot fluid may be changed into cold one, right? So this is the forced thing, forced one. So thermosiphon cooling, water circulation occurs due to temperature and density difference and independent on engine speed, and rate of circulation is slow and insufficient. So the circulation of water starts only after the engine has become hot enough to cause thermosiphon action, and the radiation should be above the engine for gravity flow of water to engine. And this is the forced or pump lubrication system. So this the pump driven from engine through belt and is used to cause positive circulation of water in water jacket. So here we are having an advantage that the cooling is ensured under all conditions of operation. So that is the main advantage. So coming to the drawbacks, we are having so many things. That means it's an independent of temperature. Cooling is independent, right? Resulting in overcooling the engine. It will overcool the engine, right? And next one is the the coolant circulation is reduced while may result in overheating the engine. So undesirable because cooling must continue till the temperature is reduced to normal values, right? So evaporative cooling system and thermostat cooling, so many things. So here you can observe this is the evaporative cooling system. So that means thermostat cooling system. So the radiator circulating the water from the thermostat prevents the circulation through the radiator until its temperature has reached to a suitable value. So that is happening in this one. Coming to this is the cooling fins. You can observe advantage and limitations. Already we have been discussed this one. And limitations. Coming to the limitations. These are the advantages, air cooling system, and limitations. So these are the main things in our cooling system, right? One more thing I want to say is what is the main difference between air cooling and water cooling? So this is the thing you have to observe. So air cooling is no danger of water freezing at low temperatures, and maintenance is low, and design is very simple, and the engine warms up quickly. So efficient maintenance is very low. So specific fuel consumption is low, and weight to power ratio is also low and suitable for low capacity engines. The air cooling system is mainly suitable for low capacity engines, and regulation of cylinder temperature is not possible, and cooling is not even. So that is comes under to maybe it's an advantage and disadvantage, and the volumetric efficiency is also low. So these are the about the air cooling. And coming to the water cooling, there is a danger of water. There is a danger of water freezing at low temperatures, and maintenance is high due to radiator, and design of engine is more complicated. So that is one of the major thing that we have to observe in water cooling. And one more thing is specific fuel, power ratio, and volumetric efficiency. All these are high as compared to the air cooling. Whereas the regulation of cylinder temperatures is possible, whereas in the air cooling it is not possible, and the engine maybe warms up comparatively warms take warm up takes comparatively more time as compared to the air cooling. So that is about the water cooling system. So today in our class we have been discussed the total cooling system, engine cooling system. So the session has been closed. So tomorrow we will discuss another topic. Thank you.